and welcome back to A Day in the Life podcast. We have got an excellent guest for you today. My cameraman has been making eyes all morning because we've been gabbing, and we haven't actually started. So we've already been here an hour and a half and we haven't even pressed play. So our guest today is so exciting. She is a force to be reckoned with, and I absolutely loved you from the moment I met you. We've got the amazing Claire, and she's going to tell us all about her life, how you've nuanced from one amazing career as a naval officer all the way through to now a commercial artist, which is, I mean, what a 360-degree turn for a lot of people to be thinking, how have you done that? And we are going to tell you how. Well, you are anyway. But for those of you that are joining us first, the Day in the Life podcast is all about taking social media and throwing it away. This is not about your best day and the life that you should be living. This is just about life in general. It's ups, it's downs, it's nuances, it's small changes, and sometimes life can be really, really hard. And sometimes it can be amazing. And we're going to talk about everything in between. So we have got an amazing sponsor for this podcast today, which is Stand Up for Southport. So we will put their email address and their website in the comments. So make sure that you are following them as well. So Claire, welcome.
Morning.
To the Day in the Life podcast. You have got a fascinating life. It is so interesting to me how you've gone from one thing that was so, for a lot of people watching, would be so orchestrated and sort of one day this, next day the other, whereas now being an artist is so creative and fluid.
Oh, very different.
Can we go and talk through what your day is now? I mean, your hands are covered in paint.
They are, unfortunately. I've been working with silver foil this morning, so yeah, I'm trying to hide them. Thanks, Lizzie.
Yes, I totally pointed out. So yeah, talk me through, what does a day look like now? And then we'll go back.
My life is very creative today. As with most artists though, you kind of have some days where your creativity isn't flowing as well as it should be, but then that's due to life in general. We all have our ups and downs. If you're a creative person though, you generally try and keep quite upbeat and optimistic. Otherwise you get blocks. And it's true what they say, you know, you do get artist block. But at the moment, we've just finished the trade fair at the NEC Birmingham, launching our new designs for this year for all the buyers from all the stores that we sell to through the UK. Just launched the new range, absolutely delighted with the response and the orders. So I'm busy right now kind of being covered in plaster, silver foil, because that's the kind of trends at the moment. Being a commercial artist, I do look for the trends of what's coming out in Europe, what's coming out in Asia, because we all follow fashion trends, and art is the same. Because it's mainly interior art, I do look at trends all the time, and then I take a tweak from there, and then create my designs.
So for anyone that's kind of watching and sort of going, okay, I thought an artist was just an artist. What makes a commercial artist? How do you flip that into making what I would assume is sellable?
Yes. One is following the trends, which I've always looked at. Right, what would I like on my walls this year? I look at furniture trends, which come from the fashion trends for clothing. I look at colours.
Look at the coat.
I mean, I'm going to plug my daughter's brand right now. This is Aria Cove, everyone. This is, if you don't follow her on Instagram, please do. Very proud of my daughter and her business partner, Lucy. This is their range. I look at the trends. I look at trends of soft furnishings, trends of lamps, trends of anything to do with interiors, because they're usually about 6 to 8 months before they come into the market. So as an artist, a commercial artist, you have then time to develop a range that will complement them. That's the best way to look at it. Then you source out where you want to display those. Who do you want to sell to? Do you want interior stores? Do you want interior designers? Do you want chains? I always wanted to go with independents, but high-end independent stores. Family run, so that you've got this great communication link with them. That was for me. Personally, it's not for everyone. Some artists want to go with chains, so they're established immediately in one store, say, for example, John Lewis or Next or, chain stores like that. That wasn't for me, because I wanted to be different for each store that I sold to.
Yeah.
Because each area of the country are different in their tastes and their styles. So it's really important. That's what I focused on.
Yeah. So how did you sort of get into that then? Can we go back a little bit? Are you able to run us through historically a little bit of where the life of Clare has come from?
My life changed just over 20 years ago. My life changed a bit, a lot. I'd been in shipping for some time, but I had a back problem where thankfully, I went to the Walton Centre after I collapsed at work one day, basically, and I literally lost the use of my legs. And it was a real wake-up call. I thought, what's going on here? I got scanned. They realised that some bone had chipped off the top of my spine from the age of 12, which they went back. I'd fallen off an aerial slide on a school holiday in Cologne, which they didn't realise the bone had chipped inside my spinal column, had fused to the inside of the column and then grown over 25 years until it hit my cord, but thankfully hadn't pierced it. So it was very, like this, whether I was going to walk or not. So
that's more than just like a pulled muscle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Goodness me.
The operation was, I didn't think about it too much. I think my husband, Chris, was more worried because me being the eternal optimist was like, well, he calls it blind optimism, but I was like, no, I'm going to feel my toes. I'll be fine. Thankfully, under the great Walton Centre, the surgery was successful. And I worked for Mersey Docks at the time in Liverpool, and they gave me 12 months to recuperate. So I was always going to go back to shipping if I could, but in the process of actually getting better, rehabilitating, getting my leg muscles back, moving, etc., I started doing arts and crafts to try and keep my head busy, because there's only so much daytime TV that you can watch. I was really. I needed to get my head out of that. So I started doing that. I had 2 young children. At the time, they were 7 and 5, which was also quite hard because I didn't have the mobility to be able to do the things with them that I had done. So I started arts and crafts, started making cards, started painting, and then found that I really loved doing what I was doing. Yeah. And art was born. And it was literally, because I think that must have been I just want to dig a little bit deeper into that optimism part of you. And that surely spurred you on into that art sort of transition. But can you unpick a little bit where that's come from? Is that you through and through? Is that how you got through sort of telling people what to do? Yeah, it's survival mode, survival, I think. Sort of. Yeah. When I joined the Merchant Navy years ago, it wasn't long after, while I was a cadet training, that my father died. My parents were always instilled in all of us to be educated, learn everything you can about the world, and if you're really going to make it, you have to work hard. Yep. And that's been instilled from me from a young person, really. If I could earn £5 in the early 80s sanding church benches with my dad, I would. So I learned very quickly that, well, if I worked, I could earn money. Yeah. It wasn't just about the money, it was about achieving something. And I really loved creating things that had someone would take great pleasure in enjoying. Yeah, enjoying it. And I think, from being a child being like that then to now, yeah, it's followed through. I didn't realise that, but it was, but even through my years in the Merchant Navy, like that wasn't easy. That wasn't easy. But when my father died, it was my goal to actually get my licence, because it was really important that I achieved that for me and for him and for my family. You know, it was a very wild thing to do, I think.
I think it's phenomenal, really. And I think you were doing it at a time that surely you were only one of the few women in that sector.
Yeah, there were
time?
very few women in the Merchant Navy then, but I was the first woman with SO International, first female cadet. So they were taking a bit of a punt taking me on, but they did, and thankfully I did okay. Yeah. But I went on from working for SO International to BP Shipping. So I went from the large crude carriers, ULCCs to, well, the third largest in the world was the first one I joined, which was, I went out to Louisiana, out to Houston, and I was on this tug, the launch boat going out to join this ship was in ballast at the time. So ballast means it's got no fuel in it, so it's very high out of the water, for those non-shipping people, sorry. And so of course from a distance I saw this ship and I thought, oh my Lord. So and the depths of those tanks are 33 plus meters.
Wow.
So it's 100 foot. Yeah. You think, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, my first trip was very, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of laughter, a lot of skitting, a lot of let's play a joke on the new female cadet, you know, all of that. So yeah, at some stage I might write a book about that, but I'm not sure. I might get a few people in trouble, I'm not sure. But it was very daunting, very daunting. Yeah. But I sailed with some great guys. Hayden Abbey, Dale West. I love, you know, we have a real camaraderie from back then, you know. Jim Ritchie, another one. You know, I had some great guys that I worked with, and yeah, I loved it. But God, it was scary.
Yeah,
and also unfortunately more relevant now because the Straits of Hormuz are blocked with the Iranian war at the moment. Well, that's where we used to come in and navigate up into there to Ras Tanura, where they've just. That's where I used to join the ship. But back then, you know, over 30 years ago, that was frightening. Because that was the first Kuwait war with Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, navigating a black sandstorm. It's quite frightening because the oil, you know, fields are on fire. It's frightening.
So I suppose then, as part of that, you know, you've mentioned the word frightening there a few times, leaning into that, like a lot of the time now people are sort of afraid of feeling emotions too much. Did you find that being able to lean into that was like spurring you on? Were you able to sort of, you know, turn up a gear and go, right, we're doing this? We're
doing this, yeah. It would, yeah. I'm a very, right, let's just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, I get very nervous about a lot of things. And I have that, you know, everyone's got fear about doing things that you know, that they don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone's the fear of unknown, I should say. But yeah, it definitely spurred me on to think, oh no, I can do this because I've got to.
Yeah.
I've got no choice.
Yeah. There's no way off.
No. Like, you know, you can't decide, all of a sudden, you know, 2 months into a 4-month trip.
Yeah.
I don't like this anymore. I want to get off. No.
Yeah.
And also as well, I was a female in a man's world. Yeah. So I had to there was no, and everybody that knows me, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I cry at Coronation Street. I mean, I'm a real wuss at sometimes, but, you know, I'm a very emotional person. But oh my God, did I have to grit my teeth. If there were tears, it was behind my cabin door.
Yeah. And I think that's quite a good life lesson. I think, you know, for a lot of us, I'm an emotional person, heart on sleeve. I too will cry. Christmas adverts is Christmas is a very hard time.
Yeah.
And I think having that ability to go, right, we have to just suppress this just for a minute, not to suppress it and never touch in it or never feel in it or live in it, but be able to control it.
Yeah.
And do you think there was can you remember a moment where that was maybe the hardest? Yeah,
I mean, there was someone I did sail with who wasn't particularly pleasant with me. And it wasn't me, it was the fact that he didn't want a female on the ship. And I was on watch on the bridge, and he was quite verbally abusive to me quite regularly, had a drinking problem, and I got the backlash. And when you're on a ship for 4 months, 6 months sometimes. I mean, my longest one was 7.5 months after my father died. Wow. That was a long, long trip. It went to start being physical abuse. Thankfully, that never happened because I had 2 watchkeepers who stopped him that evening.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky that evening that something didn't happen to me physically, because he did, he went to punch me actually, and my 2 watchmen stopped him, and I carried on with the watch of the ship because, we had 900,000 barrels of oil on.
Yeah.
It was it was a big deal for all of us commercially as well. And you're in charge of not only the oil, you're in charge of other people on that ship.
Yeah.
If you're navigating and at midnight till 4, you've got someone on the bridge that's drunk and out of control. But the watchman they put him to bed, and they said, "Look, Mum, do you want us to get the captain?" I was like, "No, I'm fine. Let's just carry on with the watch. We'll deal with this thing in the morning." But being on a ship with just 12 officers, 15 crew, there's 27 of you for those many months.
Yeah.
That was really difficult because I never reported the verbal abuse. It's just something that I got on with. But the physical side, once that switched, I thought, well, I might be in a bit of danger here. So I said nothing the following morning. I got up to do my watch. I had 4 hours sleep then. I came back up at 8 a.m. onto the bridge, and the captain came to call me and said, came up and he said, "I need to have a chat with you about something." I was like, "Okay, what have I done?"
And isn't that mad? Straight away,
what have I done? Yeah. And he explained that the bosun, head of the crew, had come to see him and said Claire was in a little bit, there was a problem last night on the bridge, and he said, "I know you're not going to report it, but I will deal with it." And he did.
Yeah.
And obviously the officer was taken off the ship at the next port. That was the end of that. But many years later, my cousin was actually sailing in the North Sea as a cadet. And like with many people that you sail with, they'd asked him, and my cousin's Irish, and a different surname. So there was no synergy between my name, his name, etc. And they asked him, how did you get into joining the Merchant Navy? And he said, "Oh, it was my cousin. She worked for ESSO International." And he said, "Oh, there's not many females. Who's your cousin?" I said, "Oh, Clare Brannigan." And his face went white, and it was the officer. And he actually said to my cousin, "I didn't treat her very well. How is she?" Blah, blah. So many years later, your paths may cross in a different capacity.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we're going to go for a very short break, but I want to come back and I want to touch on your connections because you've got them everywhere. But I want to find out a little bit more about, after that entire sort of world travel trip, what brought you into Southport. So we'll be back in a second. Welcome to A Day in the Life, our sponsor slot. This is where, if you have a business, we could be featuring you. This is an opportunity to showcase what your business does, have it highlighted by us. So get in touch at A Day in the Life, and this is where your business could really shine. And we are back. I am having an absolute ball this morning. I've loved listening about sort of the life history that for you feels so normal, whereas my brain's going, "Oh my God, I couldn't have remotely coped with that." And having that sort of depth of, I think, courage a lot of the times to be able to get onto those ships and, like you say, sail away to, pirate infested waters just seems so extreme. So coming back into now sort of the present day and the artwork that you now live and breathe, did that history of being at sea influence your artwork today?
Very much so. I very briefly, following my getting my licence at sea, I went to work for Mersey Docks. I'm very proud to say I'm their first female dockmaster in the history of Liverpool. So that was amazing. And just a quick story, I'm digressing here, but
oh no, tell.
I went into when I got taken on with Mercy Docs, I was given a fluorescent coat with MDHC on the back, but I was given a blue hard hat, which in the docks meant you were management. And I walked into the Dockers canteen many, many years ago, late 90s, and they were all a little bit confused and said, "Who's let," in so many words, not quite the quote, "who's let their girlfriend in?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I even apologised.
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry. I'm the new dock master at Gladstone." And they just went, and I was like, "No, I am." So they were a little shocked, and that was I would say that was a little harder to get over, than being at sea.
Yeah.
But then over time, I was very fortunate and not fortunate. The guys that I worked with were great. But very sadly, one of the guys passed away on me with a heart attack on a night shift. And I tried for 20 minutes to resuscitate him, but sadly I couldn't. So, but in the meantime, I had my business head on and we were trying to get a coal ship out.
Yeah.
The pilot at the time, John Temple, was calling the lock to make sure that we were ready. And when he didn't get an answer, he was like, "Well, that's strange.
Yeah.
Claire's on duty. I don't, you know." But he slowly brought the ship in towards the lock and could see that the lock physically was ready. So he brought the ship in. But when he looked down, he could see me trying to resuscitate Jimmy, and realised there was a problem.
Something going on.
So unfortunately, I didn't manage to save Jimmy. He'd had a massive heart attack. So, but the boatman that I worked for, it was very surreal. When the coal ship had gone out, we all sat almost like the old girder photograph from the New York, very famous New York image. And it was almost like we were sitting on the edge of the lock because it had gone down to let the ship out, and with these burly boatmen all crying for Jimmy, and it was silent, absolute silence. But from that moment onwards, the respect that I got was enormous, and they really looked after me, you know. So yeah, it was a real turning point for me. But and it sounds terrible, but Jimmy's death kind of did it turned point for me.
Yeah.
And I will have, I've got huge, enormous, great gratitudes for all the guys that I worked for down there. They were amazing.
Yeah. I think, you know, we've just had International Women's Day, and I feel that allows us a moment within the year to pause for a second and just reflect on stories like that and go, because you were a woman in that initial sort of step, you had to do something above and beyond to get the respect of what you'd already earned. So I'd say great that there was awful circumstances, but good that the respect was then earned. If that, you know, it feels so callous to put that on it.
It's a hard way to, you know, to actually verbalise that. And they didn't realise that.
No.
But it was, you know, and they were just brilliant. And I'm sorry I digressed from the original question.
No.
But yes, all the port days, the seafaring days did influence all my artwork now, because everything that I do, that's how I created artwork, resin artwork. And 20 odd years ago, the term that's now very freely talked about in the art world, if it's to do with resin, is liquid glass. Well, I created liquid glass art. That was my term. And then all of a sudden I created this great idea with embellishments, etc., which hadn't been done before. And then, like any great invention or great idea, it then does get copied throughout the industry. So even larger art companies, when I'd first started, looked at my work and went, "Do you think that's going to take on and, you know, get some?"
Yes, it is.
And I just went, "Well, I hope so."
Yeah.
And then years later, they were mimicking ideas that I'd created back then. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of influence of a lot of fluidity. Everything I do, even my Luso range, which if you go on my Instagram at Clare Wright Art, you'll see the Luso range is it looks like petrol, water in petrol mix.
Yeah.
And that again from my oil tanker days, you know, when you get that oil on water look, it's great.
Yeah.
But that's how I play with the colours and the mediums that I use so I can get that image.
So how long have you now been in that commercial artist industry?
So 22 years now.
Yeah.
Long time. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm still loving it. Like it radiates from you when you're talking about it, and that sort of excitement that comes through with finding something new or exciting or a new trend or say being covered in paint. You're like, you're in it.
But it's my safe place also, Lizzie, because when I'm doing art, I'm not thinking about, you know, having a bad day or, you know, because life just can really be tough sometimes. And, you know, that is my safe place. And it was the thing that got me through, you know, losing my mobility, albeit temporarily, thank God temporarily. But what it did give me is an insight into people, into other people that weren't as fortunate as me, because I was successfully operated on, so I have the use of my legs. But then when you're rehabilitating in the Walton Centre with people who it wasn't successful for, and their life is in a wheelchair, and they've got different things to go through, I can really empathise with that. Yeah. So, and again, art has always brought me into, right, get my head clear. If I create something and it's positive, then great. And I get such brilliant feedback. It's a beautiful industry to be in when you get messages like, Claire, your artwork makes me happy every day. That's why I bought it.
Yeah. And that, like you said, that must just build you up.
Lovely.
Like, you just like, it's fantastic. And, you know, art for a lot of people isn't always accessible. Art has varying price ranges for it. So when people are investing in it, you know that they truly love it. Because it's not just something that's so transactional.
No.
So it must be just a phenomenal feeling. Yeah. So I am going to highlight this because you are an incredibly humble person, and I don't think you would bring this up for 1 minute, but you are heavily involved in different charitable sort of backdrops. You go to regular events, you do put your artwork in there to help charities sort of raise money. Is that something that's come from that insight into not being able to sort of walk, however briefly, and seeing that? Or do you think that's just been, you know, you want to help people? You can see that from the very moment I met you. They're like, what can I do to help? And I was like, I don't know, but I'll come up with an idea. Yeah. You know, where does that come from?
Again, I think it's from my parents. I mean, you know, my parents, both from Dublin, and Irish people in general are very charitable people. Usually with a lot of Irish families, it's an open door policy. So if someone comes knocking on your door, you help. Yeah. But that's how I was brought up. If somebody needed help, I feel that I was sort of given a second chance with a second career. Don't get me wrong, I would have gone back to the docks. I loved what I did, and I'm really one of those very fortunate people that I was involved in 2 industries until that I both loved. Yeah. And I feel that because people have invested me by buying my artwork, because they feel like they get joy out of it, then hopefully by that I can then give back, and then I can give joy in different ways, whether it's raising money, whether it's doing, you know, the art therapy classes that I used to do with the Douglas Foundation, anything like that I can help that might forward someone else or forward a group, or, you know, listening to Karen, Dr. Karen from the Queen's Court Hospice. Wow, truly a phenomenon. I mean, she is an angel, a human angel. She is, what she's created is incredible, and she has helped family members quite recently, and old friends from over 25 years ago. And I lost a friend there, and Queen's Court have helped them enormously. So I have been involved in Queen's Court since then. And then obviously Lady Marina Dalglish was diagnosed and successful in her getting through her cancer. And again, she's someone in this community that I really look up to, because she has gone way beyond what they've created for Liverpool. Merseyside is immense, you know, and that, again, that's her giving back because she's here. Yeah. So obviously not in the same league at all, but I truly think that if I can help, I will.
Yeah, phenomenal. So how did you arrive in Southport? Because that must be an interest. You've been around the world, you've been everywhere. How did you land here? Because your gallery is on Lord Street. You're in a very integral part of the town.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with that.
Yeah. How did that arise?
So my parents moved up here when I was 15. So I finished my last year at school at Christ the King. And then I wasn't quite sure. My brothers had gone to university. I didn't always think I was clever enough to go to university because I really didn't know what I wanted to do in life, to be fair. But when you've got very high achieving brothers and academic, they're very academic. There's a bit pressure when it comes further down the line. So I wasn't sure what to do. So I went to live in France as an au pair. Years ago, there was a magazine called The Lady Magazine. I don't even know if it still exists, to be fair, but in the back, you could scurry through and get these adverts for nannies and au pairs, etc. So I applied to one. So I became an au pair in Le Mans, where the 24-hour racing is, for 6 months. And I worked for the most amazing family, the Trouvé family. And she enrolled me in the university in Le Mans there. And so I got my French grammar lessons. I could speak fairly fluent French by about 3 or 4 months in. Then I went to work for Sea-Link on the Channel ferries. And when somebody told me not to worry about my head, because I asked them, how do you get to steer one of these things? They said, oh, no, you need to get a sponsor. You need to study nautical science. And I thought, well, why can't I do that?
Bring it on.
And that's why I applied to Esso. Well, in fact, I applied to a few oil companies, but Esso International came back to me.
Yeah.
And that's where it stemmed from, because someone said I couldn't.
I love that. Yeah. Well, we are going to take just a really short break and we're going to come back and to dig into that a little deeper. But whilst we are heading to the break, if someone's told you that you can't do something, take this moment now to apply, post online, send this to somebody that is actually thinking themselves, oh, I don't think I could do that. You can. We want you. If you are a local business in Southport or the surrounding area, we have no preference. We would like to showcase your business. We are all about collaboration, supporting, and also showcasing what businesses have to offer. So if you want to be in this slot during the podcast, get in touch and let us make you shine. Well, and we are back. Hopefully you've sent this on to somebody that has been told no. We are talking very much now about fuel to your fire. So I've listened, and you were there on Friday as well, about inspirational speeches, adding fuel to that fire. Is there sort of a story that you can tell us where no for you was just not an option? So we've talked about it sort of with artists and people saying kind of no to your artwork originally, but can we elaborate on that a little bit more? Yeah, so from each of my careers, so the first one was when I worked for Sea-Link, and I was working in the purser's office and as an assistant purser, and that's how I asked the purser, how do I get to steer one of these ships? In fact, no, I actually said, how do I get to drive one of these ships? And he said, oh dear, he said, you don't drive a ship, you steer it. And he said, and secondly, you need to go and get your licenses, which your first one takes 3.5 years. And yeah, you need obviously to be sponsored by a shipping company. You need to go and do your time away. Then you need to study your nautical science, stability, etc., etc. So I thought, right, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. So that's when I wrote to the shipping companies, and Esso International came back and offered me the cadetship. Yeah. So yeah, that's where that was born. Artwork. Well, I was going to say, like art, then you don't like formally have qualifications in art.
No.
So that's a different, like very two different things. One that yes, you needed the qualification to do that. And art, for a lot of people, were you turned away because you didn't have?
Yeah, I was turned away because I wasn't a fine artist. I didn't have a degree in fine art. I didn't have any qualifications, not formal qualifications that would be recognised by a gallery. So when I did approach the galleries with my art style, there was a lot of no's, a lot of closed doors. It just wasn't for them. Well, that's not art. That's not a real, And I thought, well, I'm going to keep on trying. And that's when I did the trade show for interior stores. And that's where I found my niche. And then, ironically, 5 years after that, the galleries, could we open an account with you? No, actually, no, you can't. Sorry, there's someone already in your area. Because I'm very careful about where I place my art too, because they're all the stockists, they're not on each other's doorsteps. We don't do price matching. I don't want any price wars with any of my designs. So all the stores that I have that do some of my work are selected. So it's not just a random, that'll do, let's give them an account. Don't do any of that.
Yeah, it's been thought about. She knows what she's doing.
Ish. It's worked so far.
So through sort of the conversations that we've had off camera, I think what has become very clear to me as a person that doesn't live in that art industry, doesn't sort of inhabit that art world, but I live in it. I live in design.
Decor is fabulous.
Has there been sort of specific artists or interiors that you've really latched onto, like names that you've thought, they were just fabulous in their time or in their place, that have either inspired you to create artwork or you've just loved?
Yeah, I've there's two main ones that I really, really love. Georgia O'Keeffe, I absolutely loved her floral images from when probably before art. I've always loved her stuff. And I love Andy Warhol. I love the pop art of his kind of style too. I also like Jackson Pollock. I like that freedom of expression with him. There's a lot of artists, I do collect art myself that isn't mine. And I've collected it for my children. So every time they've hit a significant birthday, art is a great investment. But also, art shouldn't be invested just for finances. Art should be invested in because you love it, because you're going to see it on the wall every single day and you need something that inspires you.
Yeah, fantastic. I think we're going to wrap up on that amazing little thing. Find something that inspires you, whether, like you say, small piece of artwork, big piece of artwork, a regular artist that you go back to, or, I've been in some homes that just have every artist. And you're just there like, why not? It's your house, it's your environment, enjoy it. I have genuinely loved listening to every bit of it. We could have and have gone on for hours off camera. And we wish we could have brought you all along for the whole journey. But you've got your gallery on Lord Street. So if you're in Southport, go and view the gallery. Is there, when people come to that gallery, what else is there?
So basically, Paul, who works for us, who does he's a full-time framer. So Paul is there Tuesday to Saturday. And so if you have any framing jobs, you've got sports memorabilia as one of his fortes. Anything, other artists even, if you want your own artwork framed, come and see us. We have a gorgeous range of frames, great quality, different price points as well, depending on what you want to frame. I am there only by appointment. So if you would like bespoke pieces of art, you want a local visit, if you're in the Northwest area and you'd like to book an appointment with me because you want to discuss what would look good on your walls, we can then contact the gallery and I'll come and visit you there or come and visit you in your home.
Fantastic. Amazing. So we will be back in just a second for your fast, quick fire questions.
Oh, Lord.
So, but thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you. It's great.
And, for everyone that's watching at home, share, like, subscribe, get this woman's amazing story out there, follow her online. And like she said, book an appointment and get some of that amazing artwork in your home. We'll be back in a sec. Are you looking for a unique new place to showcase your business? Well, this could be it. We are building a brand new podcast where we want to showcase local people, local stories, and your local business. So want to be in this sponsor slot? Get in touch today. Brill, and we are back. This is where we are going to hit you with the fast speed round questions. So, are you ready?
Go for it.
Fab. What is your favourite coffee order?
Americano with hot milk on the side.
Oh, fancy. Favourite place to go for a walk?
Los Monteros Beach in Marbella.
Lovely. Is there a sports club, a community group that you want to give a bit of a shout out to? One that you may be involved in, or one that you just want to plug?
Yeah, Kathy Max Aerobics. She has been keeping people in aerobics and keeping fit since I was 15, since I lived from London. She's an amazing lady, and all credit to her. She changes people's lives every day.
Fab. If you've got a friend coming to Southport that hasn't been to Southport before, is there a restaurant that you know that they have to visit?
Verities in Bechdale, or Lang's in Longton.
Fabulous. And do you have a hidden gem? So it can be Southport based or further afield.
So there's a few places in Southport, again, food-based, but okay, we'll start with breakfast.
Yeah.
Got to be Ginger's. Lunch, Volare, definitely.
Yeah.
Dinner, Verities. And then if you want beautiful coffee and a lovely glass of wine, hit Wine and Words by Watson on Lord Street.
Fab! What a fabulous way to end. There's so many places there that you can literally go and visit. We will put them all in the captions below, so you don't even need to figure out where they are. We will literally tell you. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing
Thank you.
so much about your life and how it's all sort of thriving. I absolutely love it. And check out, where can you get the coat from?
Aria.cove. It's my daughter Ellie and her business partner Lucy. Aria.cove.com, or they also sell on ASOS.
Fantastic. I will be purchasing one of those today. Make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing, and thank you once again to our sponsor today, which was Stand Up for Southport. We'll see you next time for another Day in the Life podcast.